Jafari is the CEO of the Electric Vehicle Council. You might have seen him around a bit today. He joins us now for a conversation. Nice to talk to you, mate. Now, look, I'm a good old-fashioned bogan, and I love my V8s, love all the rest of it, right? But I completely understand what's awesome about electric vehicles. I'm not pretending for a second that they are not awesome, that they can't do the job of petrol cars, all the rest of it, blah, blah. But I noticed today a lot of conversation about what role the government should have in bringing down the cost of them. Because the reality is, most popular one is the Tesla, $60,000. The average new car purchase cost in Australia is $40,000. So how do we make up the $20,000 difference?
So, look, I think there's two key things, because you're right, you've identified there's been a bit of conversation around how do we get rid of some taxes or provide some rebates to make the electric vehicle cheaper. But that goes in tandem with another really important part, which is to say, look, car companies have already made cheaper electric vehicles. Electric cars in the $30,000 to $50,000 price range exist. The thing is, all around the rest of the world, what happens is governments say, for the cars that you want to come and sell in our market, you either got to bring in things like electric vehicles or make the petrol and diesel vehicles be able to do the same job while using less petrol and diesel, making it cheaper to run at the pump. And if you don't do that, we'll penalise you. That's the stick that goes along with it. So these are the two things that the federal government today has ruled out doing. And they've said they've ruled out doing it in order to increase choice. What's quite baffling there is the car industry has for years been saying, we actually can't bring you as wide a variety of cars. You know, we're not going to get rid of anything, but we can't bring you our latest and greatest cars because everyone but Australia and Russia have these standards in place and you guys refuse to put them in. So It's really hard as a global company to build a business case to bring our most efficient vehicles, not even electric vehicles, just very efficient petrol and diesel ones, because you don't have these regulations there and everywhere else do. So, of course, we're going to fish where the fish are. We're going to send our cars to other countries.
But isn't that also a population issue, where this is part of the thing where the Australian market is only ever going to be, if everyone bought a car, 26 million compared to, the 330 million in the US, the 60 million in the UK. I mean, the size of our market is always going to be smaller. And again, I just think that people will make the transition when the cost is cheaper. And again, you're telling me that there are the companies that are offering those particular lower price vehicles. But are you seeing any effort for them to try to bring the $30,000 product to Australia?
Well, I think when they try to make that case, right, so that there's an Australian office of the car company and they've got to say to their global head office, hey, we'd like some of those. We're building them. We've got them. We've invented them. How can we get them here in Australia? And that company says, well, hang on a second. When I build that car, if I take it to the US, if I take it to Japan, if I take it to Europe, we avoid paying penalties. So that's essentially like we make money because we avoid paying the penalty. Whereas if I send it to Australia, we don't get any of that. We have to pay the penalty somewhere else. So it's actually not in our financial interest. And again, this is how the entire rest of the vehicle market in the world works. And Australia is the odd one out here. So they're saying, put yourselves on a level playing field, but come and penalise us to force us to bring you better cars in the first case. And of course, and on top of that, we're saying, there's sort of me saying this, not the car company saying this, when the customer, the driver wants to go and buy a car and they're in the showroom and they see one petrol and diesel vehicle or an equivalent electric vehicle, do anything you can to tempt them to say, go ahead and buy the electric one first. We want to stop you from using petrol and diesel. We want to stop it having to come into the country, stop from burning it. And the faster we do that, the better.
Now, I checked the federal budget today, because I have nothing else to do with my life. $20 billion is the amount of income the federal government gets from fuel excise, all right, from petrol, from diesel and from other fuel. Now, part of the logic of the lobby that has been around, I'm not suggesting you, but part of the people who are evangelical about it are saying, well, we shouldn't be paying registration fees. We shouldn't be paying any sort of access fees to the roads. So here's the question. Where does the $20 billion come from? Because obviously that is a source of revenue that currently exists. Roads still need to be used. They still, of course, have wear and tear from heavy vehicles, be they petrol or be they electric. Again, this is not me trying to knuckle drag and go, what about? But where do we get an extra $20 billion when the fleet changes?
Yeah. I should clarify one quick thing. In all of those sort of rewards and incentives and rebates that we talk about, much like the Howard government did with solar panels, they're all temporary. So you put them in, you help jumpstart the market. As there's a bit of momentum, you pull all those away. So it's not a matter of never pay any taxes at all. So similarly, things like how do you replace things like fuel excise, for instance? Well, again, if there was if this strategy released today went a bit further, you'd look at, well, how are we transitioning our entire country, our entire fleet over however many years towards electric vehicles? We're going to be on the right track. We'll be comfortable. And then there's a whole range of options for how do we replace what is today a cents per litre of petrol tax to other forms, whether it's cents per kilometre driven, whatever else that may be, a flat fee that's charged. That discussion still hasn't had a chance to occur. We've been waiting some 3 years for this electric vehicle policy to come out. And, it ended up being a 5-6 page, we're going to throw a bill of money at charging infrastructure, which is great. I welcome that. It's just, where's the rest of this plan?
Good to talk. Thank you very much. All the best. Now, as I say, I don't mind the if they've got a better mousetrap, then do it. I'm thinking seriously about, getting an electric mini moke, if only because it's a good thing to smoke in. But again, I'm old school, all right? And you have to replace the money as well as everything else in the other infrastructure.